The wind howled outside like a wild animal. Dust and ash flew across the empty land. The sky above was dark, covered in heavy clouds. This planet, once called New Terra, had been silent for years. Daniel stood inside his quiet shelter. Oh, metal. Walls, blinking lights, old machines. Everything around him was clean, cold, and alone. For a long time, he had lived here, no visitors, no voices, no life. Only memories. Suddenly, a soft knock echoed through the steel door. Knock, ... knock, ... Daniel turned slowly. He wasn't expecting anyone. No ships had landed in months. He walked toward the door and pressed the scanner. The screen flickered, showing 2 figures outside. A woman ... and a little girl. Both looked weak, dirty, and afraid. The girl was hiding behind her mother's legs, shivering in the cold wind. Daniel hesitated for a second. Then he pressed the unlock button. With a loud hiss, the door opened. The woman stepped forward slowly, her eyes full of fear. "Please," she said in a shaking voice, "just one night. Just help my daughter." Daniel said nothing. He looked at her, the dirt on her face, the torn clothes, the trembling hands. Then his eyes moved to the child. The girl was maybe 6 years old. Her cheeks were hollow, and her lips were dry. But her eyes, they were wide, curious, and shining with something Daniel hadn't seen in a long time. "Hope, I'll do anything," the woman whispered. "You can have me, if that's what you want. Just feed my daughter, please." Daniel still didn't speak. He turned around and walked back inside, leaving the door open. The woman looked confused, but she followed him, holding her daughter's hand. Inside, warm air touched their frozen skin. The girl looked around with wide eyes. Machines glowed softly. Walls hummed with quiet energy. It was like stepping into another world. Daniel opened a storage unit and pulled out a sealed food pack. He placed it on the table, along with a glass of clean water. The girl rushed forward and grabbed it. She began eating like she hadn't had food in days. The woman just stood there, tears in her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. Daniel finally spoke. His voice was low, calm, and quiet. "There's a bed through that door. You both can rest. No one will hurt you here." The woman stared at him, confused. "You don't want anything." Daniel looked at her, then shook his head. "I'm not that kind of man." She didn't know what to say. That night, the girl fell asleep quickly in the warm bed. The woman sat on the edge of the room, watching Daniel from a distance. He sat at a table, fixing a small device with glowing wires. He didn't ask her name. He didn't share his, but he didn't ask for anything either. Hours passed. The woman finally spoke. "This place, ... it's not normal. The tech, the power. How are you still alive out here?" Daniel didn't answer right away. Then he said, "This was a human colony. Once, I stayed behind when others left." She looked at him, surprised. "Why?" He looked toward the sleeping child. "Because someone might come back someday, and when they do, they'll need help." The woman went quiet. Then she asked the question again, softly. "Why help us?" Daniel turned his eyes toward her. There was pain in them. Old pain. Your daughter smiled at me. I hadn't seen a smile in years. The room became quiet again. Later that night, while the woman slept beside her daughter, the little girl woke up. She stepped quietly out of bed and walked into the main room. Daniel was still awake. Staring out the window at the storm, she climbed onto the chair next to him and whispered, "Are you a robot?" Daniel turned to her with a small smile. "No, I'm just human, like you." The girl looked into his eyes. "Your eyes? They shine." Daniel paused. Then he touched a button on his wrist, and his eyes returned to normal. "Just an old implant," he said, "from a long time ago." The girl didn't look scared. She smiled again. "You're nice." "Mama thought you were bad." Daniel chuckled quietly. She was smart to be careful. The girl looked out the window. "Is this your home?" Daniel nodded. It was. "Now, maybe it's yours too." Just then, the wall lights flickered. Somewhere deep underground, a low hum began to rise, like something waking up. Daniel stood up slowly. The girl looked at him. "What's that?" "Sound." He answered quietly, "Something I haven't heard in a long, long time." The storm outside continued for hours. Inside the shelter, everything was quiet. The lights were soft. The machines hummed low. It felt safe. But the woman could not sleep. She sat on the edge of the small bed, watching her daughter sleep peacefully beside her. For the first time in weeks, the child was warm, fed, and smiling in her dreams. The mother, her name was Lena, still. Couldn't believe it. Who was this man? Why did he help them? And why did his eyes glow? She quietly stepped out of the room and walked into the main hallway. It was cold and silver, but clean. Everything worked. Water, lights, power. That was strange. Very strange. Most shelters had been dead for years. This one was alive. She saw Daniel sitting in a corner room, surrounded by tools and small machines. He was repairing something, a small floating drone, half broken and sparking. His hands moved quickly, like he had done this 1,000 times. Lena didn't speak, but Daniel noticed her. "Couldn't sleep?" "No," she said softly. "Too quiet." Daniel gave a small nod. "It takes time to get used to peace." Lena looked at the glowing tools around him. "Are you an engineer?" Daniel kept working. "I was many things. Soldier, builder now. I'm just a caretaker." She stepped closer. "Caretaker of what?" Daniel looked up, his face calm. "This place," Lena folded her arms. "This place shouldn't even exist. The maps say this. Colony failed 10 years ago." "It did," Daniel said. "But I stayed." Lena's eyes narrowed. "Why?" Daniel looked away. "Because I made a promise." "To who?" "To the dead." Lena felt a chill in her spine. She watched him work. In silence for a moment, then she asked, "Why didn't you take the deal?" Daniel raised an eyebrow. "What deal? Know what I mean?" "Last night I offered myself. You said no? Why?" Daniel sighed, placing the drone down. "Because no one should have to trade their body to feed a child." Lena didn't answer. She just stared at him. "Besides," Daniel added, "you weren't offering with your heart, you were offering with fear." She looked down, ashamed. "I'm not interested in pain," he said. "Only survival." Lena finally sat across from him. "You talked like someone who's lived through war." "I have," he said quietly. Many silence filled the room again. Then, slowly, Lena spoke. "My husband died 5 months ago. Raiders took everything. Burned our shelter. We ran. Kept running." Daniel said nothing. "I didn't expect kindness from anyone anymore," she said. "And then we found you." Daniel looked at her. "You didn't find me. The wind brought you here for a reason." Lena blinked. "What reason?" Daniel didn't answer. The next morning, the little girl woke up early. Her name was Mira. She tiptoed out into the hallway, her bare feet cold against the metal floor. She had never seen a place like this. The doors opened without touching. The lights followed her. Everything seemed to watch her. She wandered into a wide room full of screens. A soft voice spoke. "Welcome, Mira." She jumped, but then looked around. Who said that? A glowing orb floated down from the ceiling. A blue light inside it blinked. "I am Home AI 27, it said. This system is yours to explore. Would you like to play a game? Myra smiled. Okay. As the AI began showing colors and puzzles on the wall, Myra giggled. Her laughter echoed through the halls like sunshine in a cave. Daniel and Lena heard it from the main room. She's happy, Lena whispered. Daniel nodded. She reminds me of someone. Your daughter. Lena asked. Daniel paused. His face changed something. Deeper, sadder. I had a sister once, he said. She died. Long ago. Lena saw it now. Behind Daniel's calm eyes was deep, old grief. Then something caught her attention. A strange symbol was glowing on the back of Daniel's neck. She hadn't seen it before. Looked like a circuit, not tattooed, but fused into his skin. What's that? She asked. Daniel touched the back of his neck and frowned. An old mark. From when I was rebuilt, Lena repeated. Daniel stood up slowly. There are things I'll tell you when the time is right. Before Lena could speak again, the AI's voice echoed through the speaker. Warning. Deep system activation detected. Vault 3 unlocking. Daniel froze. What does that mean? Lena asked, standing quickly. Daniel looked toward the hallway where Myra had gone. She found something, he said. Something the system thought was lost. He ran down the hall. Lena followed. They reached the control room. Myra stood in front of a screen, her hand glowing against the glass. The wall was opening, metal shifting, air hissing. Behind it was a hidden staircase going underground. Myra turned and smiled. It opened when I touched it. Lena grabbed her. Myra, are you okay? Daniel looked down the staircase. His face was pale. This vault only opens for authorized DNA, he said. Then how did she? Lena stopped. Daniel slowly turned toward her. Because only the blood of the original settlers can unlock it, he said. And that means Myra isn't just any child. The door to the hidden vault slid open with a deep mechanical groan. Cold air rose from the darkness below, like breath from a sleeping giant. A soft blue light glowed along the stairs, pulsing slowly, as if the building itself was waking up. After years of sleep, Daniel stood still at the edge of the stairway. He hadn't seen this vault open in a decade, not since the war. Not since the colony fell. Behind him, Lena held Myra tightly in her arms. The little girl was smiling, unaware of the danger her tiny hand may have just unlocked. Stay here, Daniel said, his voice low. But Myra shook her head. It called me. Daniel looked at her, eyes narrowing. What do you mean? Called you? I heard it, she said simply. Like a song. Soft, but strong. It told me to touch the... While Lena's face turned pale. Daniel, what is this place? Daniel slowly stepped into the vault. This, he said, is where the last secrets of humanity are kept. The staircase led them down into a vast chamber beneath the shelter, untouched by time, untouched by war. Tall glass tubes lined the walls, glowing softly. Inside them were seeds, DNA samples, ancient books, digital data, and strange machines Lena had never seen before. In the center of the room stood a glowing tree made of light and metal, its branches reaching toward the ceiling. Myra gasped. It's beautiful. Daniel nodded. This is the vault core. It holds everything we lost: knowledge, history, medicine, even the original earth plants. Lena looked around, stunned. How is this all still here? Daniel placed his hand on a nearby console. Because I kept it alive. Suddenly, a deep robotic voice echoed across the room. Genetic match confirmed. Settler lineage active. The vault lights grew brighter. Daniel turned sharply. It recognized her. You mean Myra? Lena asked. Daniel looked serious. She carries settler blood, one of the original families that helped build this colony. the system accepted her. Lena shook her head. That's not possible. I wasn't born here. I came from the outer belt. Daniel stared at her for a long moment. Then her father must have been. Lena looked down. Her voice dropped. He never told me where he was from, only that he was running from something. Daniel clenched his jaw. Now I know from what. As they moved deeper into the vault, the lights revealed more. A wall, covered in names. Lena read them slowly. These are ... people. Daniel nodded. Every human who died during the fall of the colony. I wrote them myself. Lena found a name that made her hands shake. Rianvolen. She whispered the name. That was Mira's father. Daniel turned sharply. Volin. That name is in the military records. He was one of the tech officers. It's one of the few who knew how to access the vault core. But he said he was just a miner, Lena said softly. Daniel stared into the distance. He lied to protect her. Lena's breath caught in her throat. Why? She asked. Daniel didn't answer at first. Then he turned to Myra. Because your daughter isn't just a child. She's the key. Mira walked up to the glowing tree. It reacted instantly. Lights pulsed, data flowed. And a hidden screen rose from the floor. The screen showed Earth, then Mars, then hundreds of other planets. All marked with red X's, extinct colonies. Daniel said quietly, humanity spread too fast. Most didn't survive. This vault is one of the few that still works. The screen shifted again, showing a ship, not just any ship, a massive cruiser, heading toward their location. ETA. 42 hours. Lena's heart raced. Who is that? Daniel's voice turned cold. I don't know, but I have a feeling they're not here for peace. Suddenly, alarms began to beep. A robotic voice said, unauthorized scan detected. External signal breach. Someone is trying to access the vault from orbit. Daniel rushed to the console. They found us. The signal Mira triggered. It wasn't just local. It went off-world. Lena grabbed her daughter. We need to run. Daniel shook his head. No, we need to prepare. Back in the main shelter, Daniel opened a hidden wall panel. Behind it were weapons, shields, and armor, all untouched for years. Lena stared. You were a soldier. A real one. Daniel strapped on a chest plate. I was more than that. I was the last defender of this colony. He looked at Mira, who was quietly watching everything. And now, I might be the last one who can protect her. Lena stepped forward. Then, I'll fight too. She's all I have. Daniel paused. Then nodded. You're not the only one with something to protect, he said. Back underground, the vault lights dimmed. The glowing tree stopped pulsing. But deep inside the system, something else woke up. Something ancient. A hidden protocol. Project New EDEN activated. Asterisk, the stars outside were calm. Silent, but inside the shelter, the air was heavy, filled with truths that had been buried too long. Daniel sat alone in the command room, the dim lights casting shadows on his tired face. A small photo lay in his hand. It was worn, old. A younger Daniel stood beside a group of soldiers. One of them looked very familiar. Rianvolen. Lena stood behind him, her voice quiet. That's him. That's Mira's father. Daniel nodded slowly. Yes, I knew him. We served together. Lena stepped closer. Then why didn't you tell me? Daniel didn't look up. Because I thought he was dead. Years ago, before the fall, this colony had been alive. Families, schools, gardens, laughter. Daniel wasn't just a soldier back then. He was something more. A guardian, part of a special human force assigned to protect frontier worlds. Not just from invaders, but from internal threats. Rian had been one of them. A brilliant tech specialist. Charming, smart, too smart. Daniel had trusted him until the night the betrayal came. There was a mission, Daniel said quietly, his eyes far away. A secret vault, not this one, but another. A prototype. We were supposed to protect it. Lena listened closely. Every word felt like a door opening into the past. Daniel continued. But someone leaked its location. Raiders came, armed. With inside knowledge, he looked up, eyes sharp now. Only 4 people had that data. Rian was one of them. Lena's breath caught. We lost everything that night, Daniel said. My team, my commander. The colony barely survived, and Rian disappeared. Lena whispered. He said he was running. From people who wanted to kill him. Daniel laughed. Bitterly. He wasn't running from enemies. He was running from guilt. Lena sat down slowly, her mind spinning. But why? Why betray his own people? Daniel shrugged. I've asked myself that 1,000 times. Maybe money? Maybe he thought he was saving someone. Maybe he thought the government was wrong. He looked into her eyes. Or maybe he knew something we didn't. In the next room, Mira was quietly drawing on the wall with a glowing pen the AI had given her. She wasn't listening, not with her ears, but somehow she could feel the sadness in the air, the grief, the tension. She turned to the AI orb, floating nearby. Why is Daniel so sad? The AI answered gently, because he remembers everything. That is both his strength and his curse. Later that night, Daniel opened a locked crate. Inside were medals, old armor plates, a journal with a cracked leather cover. He handed the journal to Lena. This was Rian's. I found it in the ruins. I kept it, because part of me wanted to forgive him. Lena opened it. The pages were filled with codes, drawings, notes about DNA encryption, vault doors, defense, systems, and something else. A name, Myra, written over and over again. Different styles, different sizes, sometimes circled, sometimes underlined. Lena's hand shook. He built something. For her, Daniel took the journal back. Maybe he knew the world would fall. Maybe he hoped someone would find this place. Maybe he wanted Myra to inherit it. Lena looked at him, eyes wide. So he wasn't running from guilt. He was trying to get her here. Daniel nodded. And now, she's here, which means something's coming. Suddenly, the AI voice spoke again. Incoming transmission from orbit. Unknown code. No identification. Estimated landing, 18 hours. Daniel stood there, getting closer. He looked toward the window, where the dark sky began to glow faint red. They're not just looking for the vault, he said. They're looking for her. Lena's voice cracked. Mira. Daniel nodded. She's not just the key to the vault. She may be the last carrier of original genetic codes. Pure settler lineage. That kind of DNA could unlock every forgotten vault across this system. Lena's eyes widened. Then they want to take her. No, Daniel said. They want to use her. That night, Lena sat beside Mira while she slept. She stroked her hair gently, whispered prayers, promises. But in her heart, she knew peace was ending. Across the shelter, Daniel stood in a small, round room. One by one, he activated old defense drones. Her eyes glowed red. Their systems hummed back to life. He moved like a man who had done this before. He wasn't just preparing for a fight. He was preparing for war. And deep underground, something else stirred. In the hidden part of the vault, locked behind ice, and code, a new light blinked on. It pulsed once. Then again, a soft female voice spoke in the darkness. New Eden Protocol. Phase 2. Guardian detected. Air confirmed. Countdown initiated. The sun never truly rose on this planet, but that morning, the sky glowed blood red. It wasn't the sunrise, it was fire, high in orbit where a massive dark ship now hovered in silence. Hidden from normal eyes but visible on Daniel's ancient scanners. It had no name, no lights, no broadcast signal. It was not here to talk, it was here to take. Daniel stood in the control room, watching the silent ship above. "It's them," he said quietly. "I recognize the energy trail. Same kind used in the war. Same tech." Lena stood beside him, holding Mira's hand tightly. "Who are they?" she asked. Daniel's face hardened. "The ones who wanted me dead. The ones Rian might have been." Running from Mira tilted her head, looking at the screen. Her small voice broke the tension. "Why are they coming here now?" Daniel turned to her. "Because you called them." She looked confused. "I didn't mean to." Daniel knelt down, his voice soft. "I know, but your blood, your DNA carries signals. Hidden codes from the original builders of this colony. When you touched the vault, it woke everything up." Lena stepped forward. "So what now?" "We hide." Daniel stood again. "We fight." Down in the vault, the lights were shifting, turning blue to red. Defense systems activated. Turrets slid out from walls. Drones lifted from hibernation pods. The AI spoke in a deeper tone now, its voice more serious. "Threat level, class, Omega. Protect the air. Activate Guardian Protocol." Daniel tapped into a wall panel. A small screen slid open, revealing a worn badge with a gold symbol. A circle with a flame inside, the old symbol of the Guardians. He picked it up and pinned it to his chest. The lights around him responded, scanning his badge, scanning his face. Guardian Daniel Reeve confirmed. Mission override, defense command granted. Meanwhile, Mira sat quietly in the central vault chamber, staring at a growing tree of light in front of her, the vault core. It shimmered with color. The tree pulsed when she breathed. It bent when she spoke. "Why do you listen to me?" she asked softly. The AI answered, "Because you carry the key. Because your voice was written into our code by your father." Her eyes widened. "He made this for me." "Yes," said the AI. "He knew you would come here. He hid part of himself inside this system. He trusted only you to find it." In a separate room, Lena was loading weapons. Her hands were shaking. "I've never fired one of these," she said. Daniel didn't look at her. "You're a mother. That's enough." She glanced at him. "So this was your plan all along. Stay underground. Wait for someone like us to show up." "No," Daniel said. "I stopped believing anyone would." "Then why didn't you leave?" Daniel paused. His voice dropped. "Because I promised the dead I wouldn't." Suddenly, a new alert blared through the base. "Landing detected. Enemy craft approaching surface." 5 minutes. Daniel moved fast. "They're coming down." He turned to Lena. "Take Mira to the core room. Lock the door. Don't open it until I say." But she started. "No," he said firmly. "They're not here to talk. They'll kill anyone who stands in their way." He glanced at Myra, "And they'll take her." As the ship broke through the clouds, the sky screamed. Fire and smoke poured across the horizon as it landed just outside the base. Dust blasted into the air. Long legs extended from the belly of the ship. Doors opened, and from the shadows stepped figures, human in shape, but not in soul. They wore dark armor. No flags, no names, only masks. Daniel watched them from the main screen. They're not government, not military, not pirates. Lena's voice came through the radio. "Then who are they?" Daniel narrowed his eyes. "Private collectors, vault hunters, tech harvesters." He paused. "They're looking for something priceless. something they can sell to the highest bidder. In the vault core room, the AI's voice whispered to Mira again. "They are here for you." Mira looked up, scared. "Why me?" "Because your DNA can unlock more than this vault. It can open the entire New Eden network. And some believe it can restart lost planets." Mira whispered. "That's too big. I'm just a girl." "Even the smallest stars burn bright," said the eye, as Daniel prepared for the fight. Something clicked in his mind. He tapped a panel and brought up a map, multiple vaults across the galaxy. Blinking offline, only one still glowed green. This one, he looked at it carefully. There were coordinates embedded in the vault data, old files hidden under Mira's genetic tag, and a message from Rion. "Mira's father, to whoever finds this, she's the last chance. Protect her. She's not just a key, she is the door." Daniel stared at the message, then at the red dots on the scanner closing in. He picked up his rifle and whispered to himself. None of this was an accident. Asterisk, the ground trembled. Dust curled through the air as the enemy ship's landing gears slammed into the rocky surface. The noise echoed across the dead landscape like thunder on dry stone. Inside the vault, everything changed. The lights turned blood red. Steel doors locked dot walls, shifted, forming barriers and blast shields. The shelter quiet for so long had turned into a fortress. Daniel stood at the center, weapon in hand. He wore his old guardian armor now, worn, scarred, heavy with memory. But it still fit. Lena watched him from across the room. She had a rifle slung over her shoulder, her eyes full of fear, but her grip steady. Daniel spoke into the comms. "Positions. No one opens the vault door unless I say. I activate full perimeter defense." "Affirmative," said the AI. "All systems engaged. Time to breach. 4 minutes." Mira stood alone in the vault core chamber. The glowing tree of light pulsed softly around her, as if it breathed with her heartbeat. She wasn't crying. She wasn't afraid. She was listening. And the vault was speaking back. Outside, black-armored soldiers moved across the surface in total silence. No shouting, no flags, no symbols, just death, fast, practiced, and well-paid. At the front walked a tall figure. No helmet, no fear. A scar across his cheek. Eyes like glass. His voice crackled through the air. "Bring me the child. Nothing else matters." Inside, Daniel moved like a man with purpose. Every hallway he passed lit up with ancient defense drones. Small spheres rose from hidden ports, their lasers blinking alive. Lena followed behind him. "You've done this before, haven't you?" Daniel glanced at her too many times. She hesitated. "Are we going to survive?" Daniel looked ahead. "Doesn't matter. What?" He stopped. "We're not just protecting ourselves anymore," he said. "We're protecting the last seed." Lena said nothing. She understood now. Myra wasn't just a little girl. She was hope, wrapped in skin and wonder. The first explosion hit the outer gate. A bright orange burst shook the walls. Dust rained from the ceiling. Daniel didn't flinch. He raised his rifle and called over comms. Zone 1 breached. Engage. Dozens of drones flew down the hallway, forming a defensive wall of fire. Gunfire rang out. Lena pressed her back to the wall, breathing fast. "How many are there?" "Too many," Daniel said. "But we don't need to win." "Then what do we do?" He reloaded calmly. "We need to delay." In the vault core chamber, Mira placed her small hand on the glowing trunk of the tree. Suddenly, lights shot out across the room, thousands of strands, forming shapes, codes, symbols in the air. The AI spoke again. "Myra Valen, you are now connected to New Eden Protocol. Would you like to activate planetary defense?" She hesitated. "Will it hurt them?" Only those who intend harm. She nodded. Then do it. Back at the battle line, Daniel fired with precision, never missing a shot. He moved like a memory of war, fast, sharp, dangerous. Lena fought beside him, not perfect, but fierce. Every time her hands trembled. She thought of Mira, and her fear turned into fire. Another wall breached. More enemies rushed in. Daniel tapped his core status. The AI replied, core synced, defense override in progress. Warning, foreign tech attempting vault access. Daniel's eyes narrowed. They're trying to hack the door. In the core room, Mira's eyes glowed faint silver now, just like Daniel's did. Long ago, she stood completely still as energy flowed from the floor into her fingers. DNA match confirmed. New Eden firewall active. Then, one by one, screens across the entire base turned on. The attackers' communications glitched. Weapons. Jammed armor powered down. Daniel smiled as he heard the enemy shouting in panic. She did it. He whispered. But just then, the tall, scarred man reached the inner corridor. He was faster than the others. Smarter, he carried no weapon. He didn't need one. He touched the wall, and the metal rippled around his hand like it recognized him. Daniel froze. How are you doing that? The man smiled. I built the first vault before your war, before your oath. Daniel raised his rifle. Then you know what happens next. The man tilted his head. Do you really think that child belongs to you? Daniel fired. But the bullet stopped midair, suspended in glowing static. The man didn't move. He only whispered, she was never yours. She was made for us. In the vault core room, Myra gasped and stepped back from the tree. She clutched her chest. The AI's voice grew urgent. Unauthorized override detected. Vault breach imminent. Lena's voice came through the comms. Mira, what's happening? Mira looked at the lights around her. I'm not enough, she said softly. He's stronger. Then a deep voice echoed through the chamber, not from speakers, not from the AI, but from inside her own mind. You are a door, little one. Open, and we shall live again. Myra closed her eyes and whispered, no, this place is not for you. The vault trembled. Lights flashed. Then a new voice filled the base. Female, powerful, ancient, guardian, override. Complete. New. Eden Protocol, final defense mode activated. Every drone lit up gold. The walls became metal armor. The vault core brightened into blinding light. And Myra began to float. Asterisk silence, then a sound. Like the wind sighing through the bones of a dead world. The vault core glowed white. The air shimmered like heat above fire. And at the center of it all, Myra floated, her arms outstretched. Eyes wide open, glowing with a soft silver light. Not afraid, not hiding, becoming outside the core room. Daniel leaned against the wall. Bleeding smoke rose around him. The battle had broken through the main hallway. Drones lay destroyed. Walls cracked. His rifle was gone. His body was failing. But his eyes were still watching, still protecting. Across the vault, Lena ran through the corridor, her face streaked with sweat and dirt, lungs burning. All she could think of was Mira, her daughter, her miracle, her reason to keep running. Please. She whispered to no one, just let her be safe. And then, something changed. The vault stopped shaking. The lights shifted from red to gold. Time paused. The enemy soldiers froze mid-step. Their weapons fell from their hands like dead weight. Even the tall, scarred man, the one who claimed to have built the first vault, dropped to one knee. Clutching his chest from the core, a wave of energy expanded in every direction. Not violent, not loud, but deep, heavy with meaning. Like an ancient voice remembering how to speak in the center of it all. Mira spoke, not loud, but it was heard by every soul inside the vault. This place is not for war anymore. This vault is no longer a secret. It is a beginning. Her feet touched the ground gently. The light faded around her, and when she opened her eyes, they were not glowing anymore. Just human. Just Mira. The AI voice returned, soft like a lullaby. New Eden Protocol complete. Hostile forces neutralized. Vault identity changed. Status, sanctuary. Daniel opened his eyes, blinking through the blood. He saw her standing at the hallway's end. Not a child anymore. Not a weapon. Just someone. Choosing peace, she knelt beside him. I thought I lost you, Daniel whispered. Myra smiled. You've kept your promise. He looked around. Where's the tall one? Myra answered simply. Gone. The vault rejected him. Daniel chuckled. Smart Walt. Later, Lena found them both in the main chamber. She ran to Mira, holding her tight. I thought I'd never see you again, she cried. Myra hugged her back, whispering, You always do. Days passed. The enemy ship, gone, powered down completely. The crew vanished or scattered. Some fled. Some surrendered. Some just stopped fighting. The vault changed its layout. Where weapons once were stored, now there were seeds. Rooms filled with soil, light, and water. A garden began to grow, the first green in decades. Daniel stood at the gate one morning. Lena walked up beside him. Kier, quiet today. He nodded. I'm thinking. About what? He looked at the sky. How strange it is. To live after you were ready to die. Lena smiled. You were never meant to die here, Daniel. You were meant to wait. He looked at her. Wait for who? She looked over her shoulder at Mira, laughing in the garden. For her, Sesa. Mira spent her days learning from the vault. Old books, recordings, plans from a lost earth. But not alone. Others began to come. First, a small group from the outer belt. Then, families from nearby moons. They followed the signal, the one Myra activated. They came not for war, but for a home. Daniel built again. Not walls. Not weapons, but rooms, tables, places to eat together. Laugh together, Lena. Planted the first real tree with her bare hands. It grew fast, roots strong, leaves golden. Mira named it Hope. One evening, as stars blinked above and machines rested in silence, Daniel sat by a fire outside the vault. Mira sat beside him. She was older now, only a little. But her eyes saw farther than most adults ever would. She asked, Do you ever wonder why I found you? Daniel didn't answer right away. Then he said, I used to think you were lost. Now I think, maybe I was. She smiled. Daniel pointed at the sky. You see that bright one? Myra nodded. He said, That's Earth. What's left of it? Will we go there someday? He smiled gently. No. But maybe your children will. A breeze passed through them, soft, warm. Not like before. This world was changing, and for once, humans weren't running. They were rebuilding. The AI's voice echoed softly through the vault one last time. File complete. Human story, not ended, just rewritten.